Hello, everyone. In this video, we're going to be going over some background information regarding the structure of Greek tragedy and the nature of the myth on which Sophocles is drawing in order to better understand the play that we're going to be studying at the end of this course, or through the final unit of this course, Sophocles' Oedipus Rex. Oedipus Rex is a play that was written almost 2,500 years ago now. In that play, we have the depiction of a great and noble and wise and successful king, that is Oedipus himself, and the tragedy of his downfall. You might be familiar with such things as, let's say, plays by way of contemporary plays or probably Shakespeare. In your last year of high school, maybe even earlier than that, you probably studied excerpts from a Shakespearean play. Here, we're going to be looking at a different kind of play with its own structure. As a summary, there are five components of the Greek tragedy, or five major structural elements. First, the play begins with a prologue. A prologue literally means it's something that comes before the rest of the story. Prologue can be used both kind of colloquially or as a description of a specific aspect or component of a play. The prologue in one of these Greek tragedies, like Oedipus Rex, is spoken by the chorus. The chorus is almost treated as an actor on its own, but it's a group of individuals who sing together. They deliver the musical performances of the piece, and they usually serve as stand-ins for the general populace. And we'll talk more about the chorus and its role as we go on. They deliver almost like a mediating force of the common man that is not prone to shifting and changing. They might be uncertain, but they always try to find the middle ground between the conflicting points of view. That tends to be what they do. This prologue provides background information before the play itself begins. So if you need some details to fill in the information regarding what's happening or what has led up to this moment where the play actually begins, the chorus can deliver that in the prologue, and it helps to mitigate the impact of that unity of time and unity of action that we discussed. You want your play to be tightly focused, according to Sophocles, with that unity of time and unity of action, so that you're only dealing with one inciting incident and you're only dealing with a short period of time, maybe a few days at most. With the chorus and that prologue, you can introduce any necessary background details that are required for that concision, that tightness, to be maintained logically. Next, you have the parodos. The parodos is an entrance song sung by the chorus as it comes onto stage. The play itself is then divided up into different episodes or scenes. These are subsections of the play in which the main plot is developed in advance. Scene breaks generally indicate a change in location or the passage of time. Odes divide the episodes or scenes. Now, odes are kinds of songs and dances performed by the chorus that reflect upon events trying to tying the plot together. So at the end of each of these scenes, the chorus is going to enter in and engage in this strophe, anti-strophe song back and forth, almost like a seesaw pattern, where they look at an issue and begin to debate it or discuss it back and forth, offering different perspectives on that issue by way of song. Then you have the Exodus. The Exodus is a song performed by the chorus as it leaves the stage. It provides some final commentary on the events of the play and their intended meaning. And it shapes the reception of the work. So it tells the reader, or it tells the audience listening and watching this play, listening to and watching this play, exactly what they are supposed to take away. It offers a kind of concluding commentary, like the conclusion of an essay, where it expands outward and offers this capstone comment to the ideas that have been presented. Now, this play was written by Sophocles, one of the foremost playwrights of his era. Sophocles was almost venerated, renowned, reified by his contemporaries and by posterity as they looked back on him and his works. His name almost means wise glory or famous for wisdom. And that seems to be a rather felicitous coincidence, I suppose, because of the great renown that he earned through his works. He was born out in Colonus, which is a small town outside of Athens, around 500 BC. This is the place that would actually feature in the conclusion to Oedipus's narrative. Oedipus's story and the story of his family in Sophocles' works are divided up into three plays: Oedipus Rex being the first, Antigone, a story about Oedipus's daughter, and then Oedipus at Colonus, which caps off this entire trilogy of works. The admiration that was levied towards Sophocles was immense. and many believed him to be gifted with a kind of preternatural or even supernatural capability and talent. As a result, shrines were established in his honor. So sacrifices were made to his memory after his death. We know that Sophocles was a tremendously prolific writer. We believe that he wrote over 120 plays. However, only a few of them survive to this day. So we have such works as Ajax, Antigone, Electra, Oedipus Tyrannus or Oedipus Rex, and Oedipus at Colonus, which was produced posthumously, so after his death, by his grandson. A few notes on Sophocles and the evolution of stagecraft. Sophocles was renowned not just for the work that he produced and the plays themselves, but also in the way in which he evolved stagecraft or helped to introduce new aspects to the delivery of plays on the stage. So his plays were marked by elaborate sets, costumes, and backdrops that were foreign to many of the plays prior to his career. He also introduced an expanded cast and varied the songs performed by the chorus. So he enhanced the nature of the spectacle of performance in his delivery of the plays that he composed. Additionally, Sophocles also began to include strange mechanical contrivances into his plays. So you might think of systems of pulleys or the like that could allow actors to enter into or exit the scene from above. That would be a kind of example of how you could simulate the arrival of a deity. Rather than having somebody walk onto stage, you could demonstrate the splendor of that arrival by way of this system of pulleys that would allow them to lower or rise from the scene if they had to leave. And that was pretty much the first thing or the central thing that he did in order to parallel and to supplement his use and others' use of Deus Ex Machina. Now, Deus Ex Machina, literally meaning God from the machine, Deus, God, and then ex, from, and then machina, the machine, is a Latin phrase that describes a plot device wherein something that seems impossible or unlikely occurs to resolve the seemingly irresolvable tensions of the play in order to solve the problems that the poet has constructed. Now, Sophocles probably tried to avoid this, and many contemporary authors would absolutely encourage you to avoid this because it seems far too simple. It seems too easy. You want to actually resolve your plot in a way that logically evolves from the circumstances and situations that you've described. The Deus Ex Machina acts in exactly the wrong way or exactly the opposite way. In its original context, it literally meant that the gods descended from the sky in order to set right what was wrong in the world of the play. Today, it means any kind of convenient or coincidental set of circumstances that resolves the problems of the play, it seems as if, or any story, that it seems as if the author or playwright doesn't actually know how to solve. The problem is resolved by something that was not referenced or alluded to previously in the narrative. In Grecian plays, like Oedipus Tyrannus, the majority of actors, if not all the actors, including the members of the chorus, would be wearing stage masks, such as the one depicted here. So keep that in mind. You're not actually looking at human beings' faces when you are watching this play or when you project this play or think about it and create the image of it in your mind as you're reading. Try to think about it, what it would look like in its original Grecian context. You would only see the eyes of the performers. They would have no ability to articulate their emotions by way of their facial features. So they would have to overemphasize perhaps the emotions in their voice and in their gesticulations in order to make up for the fact that that seat of emotion, the thing that we look to most often in order to determine how other people are feeling, would not be available to them as actors. In the last part of this video, I'm going to talk about the Oedipus myth so that we understand the background that would have been common knowledge for Sophocles' audience. Greek audiences were familiar with the play's backstory, but we are probably only aware of it tangentially by way of something known as the Oedipus complex that you may have heard of. That Oedipus complex is supposedly, according to the psychologist Sigmund Freud, the belief that all children, or at least all male children, go through a phase in their lives wherein they are sexually attracted to their mother, or they desire the attention of their mother and wish to destroy the father in order to sort of cast him out so that he, the male child, can be the sole object of the mother's affections. And psychological aberration and malformation occurs if the child never properly resolves that tension and grows out of it. That Oedipus complex, the term for it at least, derives from the Oedipus myth, which Sigmund Freud believed actually articulated an underlying concern and need of the majority of people. In the Oedipus myth, the king of Thebes, Laius learns from the Oracle of Delphi. So he learns from this sort of oracle that is connected with the gods that he is fated to die at the hands of his own son, and his son will grow up to marry his own mother, Jocasta. So Laius and his wife Jocasta are rulers in Thebes, this Grecian city. They learn of this prophecy, and Laius says, no, that's not going to happen. I am going to do everything in my power to avoid that. So when his son is born, he binds the child's foot, crippling him, and then turns him over to a servant. So the servant will take him out to the woods and kill him. That is actually where Oedipus gets his name. Oedipus literally means basically lame of foot or swollen foot. The child is left out in the wilderness because this servant can't bring himself to murder a small baby. Shepherds find him and they take him into the city, where through a series of circumstances he is eventually adopted by the king of this new city, Polybus and his wife Merope. Years later, after Oedipus has grown up, believing Polybus and Merope to be his parents, he learns of this prophecy that he's going to grow up to murder his father and sleep with his mother, marry his mother, from another oracle. Now, he believes that Polybus and Merope are his biological parents, and he loves them. So he has no desire to see this come to pass. So he just kind of nopes on out of that situation, leaves them behind, and heads off on his own because he says, I'm going to put as much distance between myself and them as possible to make sure that I avoid my fate. I am the master of my destiny. I am not going to be condemned to this horrible fate. As he is traveling to Thebes, moving towards another major nearby city, again, where his actual biological parents are living, not that he knows it, he actually meets Laius as Laius and his retinue are traveling along the road. And they enter into this kind of dispute or argument as to who has the right of way. Oedipus says, well, I'm a prince. Get out of my way. Make way for me. And Laius says, no, 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 sir. I'm a king. Get out of my way. And Oedipus says, well, I absolutely respect your right to make that assertion. And now you're going to die. So they actually come to blows. Oedipus, because he is a young and strapping man, filled with cunning, wit, and power, kills off all the guards that are with Laius and then kills Laius himself. Oedipus continues on his happy way, having, unbeknownst to him and unbeknownst for him for quite some time, having fulfilled the prophecy that was spoken of him. He then reaches the city of Thebes and finds it is beset by a sphinx. Now, a sphinx is this sort of mythological creature that you might be familiar with from, well, the sphinx in Egypt, so that massive stone sphinx that guards the pyramids. The sphinx is kind of a gestalt, amalgamated creature that has a variety of different components to it, all melded together. So here we see Oedipus and the sphinx. Oedipus, this strapping young man that is grappling with the sphinx, with the body of a lion, the wings of an eagle, and the torso and head of a woman. The Sphinx has been plaguing the city of Thebes, killing off travelers, preventing people from leaving, preventing traders from entering or supplies from entering. And it does so by posing an insoluble riddle. It asks every traveler, what walks on 4 feet in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening? If they fail to answer, and if they fail to answer correctly, as all of them have failed up until this point, the Sphinx kills them. Now, Oedipus arrives, solves the riddle, and the Sphinx kills herself. In reward for his cunning, Oedipus is made king, and Jocasta marries him in order to secure his throne. Because, hey, what do you know? Really lucky for you, Oedipus. Our king just died under mysterious circumstances, and to solidify your rule, to legitimize it, here's his wife. Just, good for you. Now, Oedipus has actually fulfilled the role of king. He has sacrificed himself, or he has put himself in danger in the service and protection of his people, as is the sort of ethos that undergirds kingly rule. A few other notes about the structure and nature of these plays. The chorus, as we've already established, is a group of singers and dancers led by the choreagos, who interacts with the other characters in the play. So there's this central figure who stands in for the chorus when the chorus has to speak to other characters. Then he recedes back into the group and helps to deliver the songs. These chorus songs, or choral odes, are divided up into a series of strophes and antistrophes. They literally reflect a kind of back and forth movement, wherein during the strophe, the chorus moves along the stage from right to left. The antistrophe, the chorus then moves back to its original position. It's meant to be a physical representation of the nature of these two aspects of the choral odes, the strophe and antistrophe, in that both of them reflect different perspectives on an issue. The chorus is almost literally physically reflecting the way in which, in the strophe and antistrophe, it's banding an idea back and forth and back and forth, going over it and over it, trying to understand and reflect on the issue it's grappling with, presenting different perspectives on that central issue. The chorus in these moments provides background information, reflects on the narrative, anticipates future actions, explores logic, morality, and implications of the situation or the previous section. So whenever you look at a strophe or an antistrophe, whenever you look at that choral ode in total with several different strophe, antistrophe, strophe, antistrophe pairs, think about how it's reflecting on what it has learned, what it has seen, and what it knows, and what it's trying to argue and sort of work through from the previous scene. The chorus represents a kind of mediating force. It represents the citizenry and their moral values or the moral norms. It's a kind of social conscience for the play, the voice of the common man. Now, with that information under your belts, you should be able to understand what's going on in the play a little bit better and appreciate some of the structural elements that we will use to interpret the work and its commentaries that are, again, just as applicable to Sophocles' original context as they are for us. Because remember, there's a common humanity to us all. The same kinds of questions about purpose and meaning, the value of life, the good life, and how we're supposed to live it that drive the ancient mind are the same kinds of things with which we are grappling. So we can use even something that seems on its surface to be so foreign culturally to us as Oedipus Tyrannus as a window into our own existence and how we should be living our lives and what we should believe.